Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I'm going to talk about one of the most common regulator designs out there, the unbalanced piston first stage. I'm going to explain how it works internally, what problems you might encounter, why maintenance is so important and what you can safely do yourself as a diver, and finally, what you should think about if you're considering buying one. A lot of divers use these regulators without really knowing what is happening inside. So let's break it down in a clear and simple way. But before we talk about how it works, let's quickly look at the main components of an unbalanced first stage. You have the DIN or yoke connection where the regulator connects to the tank. DIN is very common in Europe and in technical diving setups, while yoke is more common in rental gear or in the US. Inside the regulator, you have the pressure inlet with a brass filter where the tank pressure enters. You have the piston, the high pressure seat and the spring, the intermediate pressure chamber with the low pressure ports for the second stages and the inflator, and usually one high pressure port for your SPG. You don't have to memorize all these parts, you just have to understand what's involved. When you open your tank valve, high pressure air enters the first stage and pushes directly against the piston. That piston has a small hole on the side to let air enter the intermediate pressure chamber. On the other side of the piston, a spring pushes back in the opposite direction. When you inhale, air flows out of the intermediate pressure chamber to the second stage. That causes the intermediate pressure to drop slightly. As soon as the pressure drops, the spring pushes the piston open. That lifts the high pressure seat and allows more air to flow from the tank into the intermediate pressure chamber. Once the intermediate pressure rises back to its set value, the combined force of that pressure and the spring pushes the piston back, closing the valve and stopping the airflow. This happens extremely fast, many times per second while you're breathing. What makes this design unbalanced is that tank pressure pushes directly onto the piston. As your tank pressure drops during the dive, the force helping to close the valve also drops slightly. Because of that, the intermediate pressure can decrease a little as your tank gets emptier. That's why unbalanced first stages can have a slightly higher breathing effort near the end of the dive, especially at deeper depths or higher workloads. Unbalanced first stages are very reliable, but like any regulator, they can have issues. Common problems include a worn high pressure seat, which can cause a creeping intermediate pressure, leaking O-rings, especially at the hose connections or DIN fittings, free flows often caused by contamination or seat wear, freezing in cold water, especially if the regulator is not environmentally sealed, and contamination from salt, sand or silt entering the spring area on unsealed designs. None of these are deal breakers, but they are important to understand. A regulator is life support equipment, and maintenance is what keeps it predictable and safe. Most manufacturers recommend servicing your regulator once a year or once every 2 years, or after a certain number of dives, whichever comes first. During service, wear items like O-rings, the high pressure seat, and internal seals are replaced before they fail. Skipping maintenance can lead to unstable intermediate pressure, increased breathing effort, leaks, or uncontrolled free flows. Preventive maintenance is always better than solving a problem in the water. But there are a few things you can also do yourself as a diver. After every dive, rinse your regulator thoroughly, but make sure water doesn't enter the first stage. Let it dry properly before storage. Regularly inspect your hoses and fittings. Watch for bubbles or leaks and pay attention to changes in breathing performance. Most divers can safely replace hose O-rings, swivel O-rings, and DIN O-rings, as long as they use the correct size and proper lubrication. Internal servicing and pressure adjustments should always be done by a trained technician. If you are thinking about buying an unbalanced first stage, there are a few things to consider. First is the intended use. These regulators are commonly used in recreational diving, rental gear, stage bottles, and travel setups. Second is the environment. Unsealed, unbalanced first stages are more sensitive to cold water, silt, and contamination. Because of that, they are often referred to as warm water regulators and are best suited for clean, temperate conditions. Third is its simplicity and reliability. These regulators have fewer moving parts. That means that there are less things that can go wrong and that they are easier to maintain. And finally, service availability. Even the simplest regulators still need proper parts and technical support. For many divers, an unbalanced first stage is more than sufficient as long as it's used within its intended limits. And that's how an unbalanced piston first stage works. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a like and subscribe to the channel. Let me know in the comments what other piece of dive equipment you would like me to break down next. And don't forget to check out the links in my description for my other social media pages, my KitKat page, and more gear related content. Thank you guys so much for watching, and as always, dive safe, stay curious, and I'll see you in the next one.